I belong to you.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust, and I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Let you down.
Let you down. Playing all my melodies.
Take me to your heart.
I belong to you.
Take me to your soul. No one
Oh, yeah. It is about to go down today. I have been looking forward to talking about this topic, or have I been? We're talking about content creator remorse. So have I been looking forward to talking about this? You know, that's kind of meta. But I actually have been looking forward to talking about this subject for a while. Okay, here's the question that I have. Have you ever, when you've been putting content out there, or you haven't been putting content out there for a while, and you saw somebody's post, and you may have thought to yourself, this stole your, and you just want to say, how many times has that happened to you? We're going to talk about that feeling today when you have had some remorse in not putting something out, but that has put it out there and you are pissed about it. And you're like, well, what do I do? We're going to have that conversation today. Coming up. All right, so here's the thing. I know I'm not alone. And you can say if you've ever felt this way or not. You can say if, no, Steve, I've never felt like this before. No, my content, da-da-da-da-da. No, listen to me. If you have been doing any measure of content created, I'm not even talking about just us who actually are in this content creating field. And when I mean like podcasting, YouTube, live streaming, all these different things. I'm also talking about in the professional realm as well, right? So have you ever thought about it in that context? Because I think I'm having audio issues. It keeps auto-correcting on certain words. I thought Apple fixed that. What are you talking about? Oh yeah. Are you talking? Hold on a second. I'm gonna go right here to the comments because the comments are. I anticipate this is my girl India. How are you doing, Chris Stone? What's going on, man? Good to see you, dude. Good to see you here. Black Podcast Association. Morning, everybody. It's a good thing I'm not a lip reader. I know. I've been wanting to use that beep thing for a while, and I don't think I've actually ever had the opportunity to use it. And today was the first day, and so this is what I was laughing at. And he said he thought that I was having audio issues. It kept autocorrecting on certain words. Yeah. So the beep. Yeah, I used the beep. Yeah. That's how we do it. I don't want to. I had some fruity language, so I wanted to keep the fruity language off of this as well too. I don't want to get canceled. My remorse comes from looking through my gallery of my phone. Oh gosh, listen to me. I expect that the comments today are going to be blowing up. I truly do. I truly do. My remorse comes from looking through my phone, through my gallery on my phone, and I have plenty of unused content I'ma still use. Or are you Flow with the Joe podcast? Use it. It's just going to be slow. Good. Make sure you use it. And there you go. What's going on, India? Good to see you. LOL. I know. Oh man. Okay. All right. All right. Here's the thing. Here is how this topic sort of came to be. And I'm just going to be very honest with you. Is because there have been certain situations kind of throughout this journey that I've been on where I have felt, whether it was consciously or kind of unconsciously, shared things with people. And I thought that possibly, that I was just sharing it in just the normal course of conversation, right? Let's just say it's Chris. I know Chris has never stolen any of my stuff. Chris is just in the audience. I'm picking on you, Chris, right? And I'm having a conversation with Chris about this content idea, this thing, whatever. And Chris probably hasn't done any of the same stuff that I've been talking about. But, maybe a week later, I see Chris putting something out very similar to what we had just spoken about. Now, did Chris actually kind of take that idea? Or did Chris already have that idea percolating and he's just like, well, I'm just going to put this thing out like right now, right? So that's the idea of how I've felt in several instances over probably the last maybe 6 to 8 weeks, maybe a little longer than that. And I just wanted to let my hair down and have a conversation with you, because I know, once again, I'm not alone in this idea, but I am going to help you with this, because when I think about those situations in my life and why I probably felt the way that I did, it's because of everything that we're going to be talking about today. And here's the why. I always, once again, if you guys have watched me for any length of time, I always want to set a foundation and then build upon that foundation as we talk, right? Here's the why behind the topic. I did a friendly survey because I was feeling a certain way. I did a friendly survey in a couple of different groups, and I asked that question: have you ever felt like someone has actually stolen your idea? And the results were very interesting. The results went from hell yeah to I'm not sure to what's one of the other ones? It was, well, it was just a conversation, and I don't think that there was any malice behind it. Understandable. But the results went from one end of the spectrum to the other. And I also just felt it also depended upon kind of where you were within your journey as well. So I did a little friendly survey, and the idea was, of course, around ever think someone has stolen your, right? Having the feeling someone is using your content. But here's the thing, and I'm going to preface everything that I talk about today. Everything that I talk about today is that there's nothing new under the sun, people. There is no new ideas, right? There are improvements upon ideas, right? The iPhone wasn't a new idea, right? iPhone just improved upon the idea that was already out there. And we're also going to talk about a concept that I have learned in business, and it applies to content creation, and we call it first mover's advantage. And we're going to talk about that too, because it's important that you understand that he or she who acts first gets gets the content out there, they also get the credibility, they get the confidence, and they get people thinking that they are the experts. So we're going to talk about that. So this is kind of the why behind this as well. All right, so hopefully you get this. Please, today of all days, make sure you put your stuff in the chats, in the comments, because I want to make sure that we're going to probably be spending some time in the comments today and going through some of the things that you may have thought about. But I do have a question, and this is the question that I want you to think about before we move, or as we move forward. Sorry, I think I was muted. My apologies. I think I was muted. What missed content opportunities still haunt you? You don't have to put in the specific, just give us a general idea of something that you were putting out there. I promise I won't steal it. 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 Just put it out. Just think about it. Just put it out there. All right. Okay. So we went through the why. We talked about. Now, I have a Shia who's a professor in the audience, and we're going to get to the comments here in a second. You know, one of the things, if you're teaching somebody, you want to teach them. You don't want to give them the answers to the test. Even when I coach people, I am not a person or coach that actually will give you like all the answers. My job is to help you get to the place that you want to be. And then by that, you get ownership. There's ownership in that process. But today, of all days, I'm going to give you the quick answer to the test of everything that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you the answer. Okay? Are you ready for the answer? So if you're looking at this right now, this is, let me make sure I got the right button. This is the answer for everything that we talk about. It's not about anyone else. It's about you. So think about everything that we talk about today and have this underpinning in your thought, in your mind, is that it's not about anyone else. It's about you. This is the answer to the test. I'm giving it to you right now. If you want to stop listening, go do whatever you need to go do. Go get your hair done, or whatever. I'm giving you the answers to the test right now. All right. All right. Let's go to the comments real quick before we move. Let me see this. This is Mark. Oh, I saw that one. I apologize. The beeps. Yes, sir. That's you. I just want to make sure I got everybody. Flo Joe, podcast, that's me too. And all those damn analog notebooks in mine. I know. Oh my gosh. Cher has too many notebooks and too much content out there that she's gonna be out there going and producing it. So be on the lookout for some of that stuff as well too. Corey says he's in the same boat, as well. The beeps were so accurate. I have remorse from being too early. I had a YouTube show in 2009 before so yeah. So is it FOMO? You got fear of missing out because, you know what? YouTube is still around, Ashia. You can still go ahead and do it. Just saying. Just putting that out there. All right. Bro, you haven't finished your sentences, and I already know where you're going with us. And yes, this has happened to me. And yes, I've been in the feelings about it. That's right. That's right. Oh, come on now. Come on. Which has caused me to pull back and chill out in the communities. Yeah. Oh, and start moving. Oh, where my thing at? I got to get you another one. Bad Boys Move in Silence. I wish I had that on my Rodecaster Pro right now. Bad Boys Move in Silence. Come on, India. You are all up in my Kool-Aid, man. Oh gosh. And facts. So I promise you we are going to get to the content. I just want to make sure that everybody is heard because I think this is important. Indeed, we do. Too bad they can't buy that car. I would have been I would have been able to afford if I just stuck. Cher got the receipts to prove it. She truly does. And yeah, she would be driving like some craziness right now, man. She would have like stuck with him, and I'm gonna help her out with that. All right. Okay, so you got you are in your feelings. You are. I love it. I love it. I love it. For me, it's still building out some master classes, paid courses. However, it's never too late. It's never too late. I'm redoing my website. I just did that. I just revamped my entire Worthy Retail U website. I understand that process and what you're going through, and moving everything over to all right, and already have outline plans, your courses plans, all this good stuff. Excellent. Ooh, all right, okay. Look at you. All right, send me some of that money. Send me some of that coin. Send me some of that coin, India. There we go. So basically, I haven't missed opportunities, just late to the party. Good. Okay. All right. The share says, I hear you. And then I actually do. You do. That's right. You do have a show. Hello. Hi. I'm sorry, I gotta mess with you. Okay. Now there you go. My girl's over there on YouTube now. I appreciate it. Excellent. Okay. All right. I gave you the answers to the test. Here's why we sit on stuff. Okay, here's why we sit on stuff, and here's why we potentially don't execute on what we think is a really good idea, what we feel is something that is important. And this list by no way is exhaustive. However, it goes back to that answer that I gave you. It's not about anyone else. It's about you. So fear, it's not good enough. Fear of failure, procrastination, too busy watching everyone else. Raise your hand if that's you, or that was you. It's not ready, or I don't have the back. I meant to put like the backup systems or the back systems. The system set up, right? So the tendency is that I'm going to start with that one first. That last one, even though the sentence isn't correct, is that, well, if I put this out there, I don't have a system to capture this, or I may not have this to go with this, and so we sit there, we wait to try to put all of these back channels together. And I get it, believe me, I get it. I know those back channels, whether it's things in Honeybook, whether it's things in QuickBooks, or it could be a CRM. It could be some of those things. I completely get it that you want to get all of those things in order, but you can do both. You can put the content out there, and you can get the systems in place. So stop. It's not about that. It's about just these are literally things that withhold us. What's missing from this? If you have an idea, if you have something that has been holding you back while you've been sitting on your content and you haven't been doing, what's something that I'm missing up here? That, yeah, it could be a fear of failure, but it could be something a little bit different, something that you may have been going through not personally, but you have personally kind of struggled with the, like, okay, Steve, this is my block. This is my obstacle. This is my mental piece that I wish I can get over, because if I was able to kind of get over that or manage through it, then I can move forward. Here's one thing, and I always give you the answers to the test. I give too much away. I don't care. So we have a concept in a book that's how to beat imposter syndrome, and one of the questions that we always get when I was doing a lot of teaching on imposter syndrome, but we call it now imposter syndrome. Just a little play on word. Sorry about that. Wrong one. It's the Stream Deck. What happens with imposter syndrome? The question that we get all the time, and this may help a lot of people out who are thinking about some of the issues or some of the things that they may be going through. The question we get all the time is, Steve, does it ever go away? Does imposter syndrome ever go away? And those of us who have been doing, whether leadership, content creation, or whatever, we all know the concept around, or idea around imposter syndrome. I'm not going to get into where it stems from, because that's a whole nother topic. But we get that question a lot. And my answer is that no. And I use this movie example all the time. I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe is a brilliant mathematician, and he's a code breaker. This is like in the 50s, maybe 50s and 60s, and he struggles with schizophrenia. So he sees these three different people, these three different voices throughout his entire career. But he's so brilliant that near the end of his career, where he is pretty much just become a shell of himself, and he's almost just become almost a mascot of the university that he's at. They keep him around because he's John Nash, a brilliant mathematician, and so they just keep him around the university. But he's still so brilliant, they want to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. So the Nobel Peace Prize people come to him, and they ask him, and they say, hey, we want to give you the Nobel Peace Prize because everything you've done in the world of math. And he says, and they said, well, and they asked him, like, well, how are you doing? He said, well, you don't really want to know how I'm doing. You really want to know if I still see the voices, right? Or do I still see people? And then if you've ever seen this movie, near this and at this scene, it cuts to the three voices that he's seen and listened to throughout his entire career. And they're over there in the corner, and they're quiet, and they're not saying anything. And he says to the Nobel Peace Prize guy, he says, I see them, but I refuse to acknowledge them. And that scene right there, and when I say this, it literally set me up for success in my career as a leader, because I realized that when I was getting into rooms with CEOs and all these other people, the imposter syndrome hit me so bad. But I realized was that the voices are there, but I had to give them space. And when I gave them space, that's when the imposter syndrome hit me hard. But if I didn't give them that space, that voice in my life, guess what? I was able to move. Sort of what India was just talking about, moving in silence. You move in silence, and you move in your power, because you are quieting those voices that are hindering you from doing something. Apologize for the diatribe. I had to rock that out. I had to talk about that. All right. So these are the fears. These are the fears that are holding you back. These are the things of why you are sitting on all of this. Fear of failure, procrastination. You're too busy watching other. How many of you have studied YouTube, right? You say this to yourselves all the time. You say, yo, I'm studying YouTube. I'm studying this. I'm watching this person because I like how they do stuff. There is nothing wrong with that. But when it gets to the point where you are constantly watching other people create content and you are not creating yourself, that becomes an issue. It truly becomes something that we especially in the content creator world, we kind of like fluff off. We're like, well, yo, I'm watching my man Doc Rock, or I'm watching so-and-so. And then, Doc is creating content, right? People are creating content. The ones you are watching, guess what? They're creating the content, and you're not doing it. So we have to understand the balance of actually studying content creation and actually doing content creation. I love what India talked about, just being able to remove yourself. I was listening to leadership guy a while back, Miles Monroe, and he spoke about sometimes you have to pull away from the pack. And that's why I gave India like so much props, was because in certain points of your life, you have to move away from the pack, and you have to create your own voice, right? And you have to trust your voice. You have to trust what you're putting out there. A lot of times we are in said communities, or we like to be in the pack because it gives us comfort. But if you are really trying to differentiate yourself from other people, there is moments in those times in your career, in your life, you got to pull away, and you got to go and chill and find yourself and create and put out there and just move, right? You can't sit there and just allow things to actually occur. You have to pull away sometimes and actually figure out what it is that you want to stand for, who it is, who you are, right? And I say this all the time when I coach people. I say the more you know yourself, the more you say no. And I just did a post on, we got this thing we're developing and we have developed. It's called the Approachable Retail Leader. And part of that is a measure of self-awareness. And a big part of that is knowing yourself, not just your strengths and your opportunities and all that stuff. We're going deeper. We're talking about the why. Why do you make a decision? Why do you communicate the way that you do? Because the why comes before the how and the what. And so the only way you can do that is by pulling away. Right? Everybody is doing their own thing, but if you want to differentiate yourself, you have to pull away and move forward. All right. What else we got going on? What you guys got going on? Okay. So Cher put out here, focusing on the wrong ideas. Focusing on the wrong ideas. Cher, I'm telling you right now, you know, but here's a question I got, Cher, and maybe this is for everybody. How do you know it's the wrong idea? And this, I ain't going to put you on the spot, but I'm just thinking about this, right? Because I think that if we're thinking about it in that context, how do we know it's the wrong idea for what it is that we're trying to do? How do we know that this idea that has been marinating inside of us that you really want to go after is the wrong idea? You may not know. Or maybe you do. I don't know the answer to this. This is why we are on this journey together of trying to figure out how to understand around content creating and having remorse around, the content creation journey, because it's super important that we understand that piece as well too. Absolutely. Moving away from the pack, but then you find another pack or become the leader of your own. Come on now, India, you are just you. What did you have for breakfast, India? What did you have for? Did you have Wheaties or what? Did you have a New York City bagel over in Philly? What did you have today? Like you are just you always crush it, but you are like crushing it. And you're all up in my wheelhouse. You're all up in my wheelhouse. You're all up in my mindset. Stop consuming and start creating. 100%. 100%. And then Eddie. So if you haven't checked out my man Eddie's YouTube channel, Pro Scale Models, right? Even if you're not into pro scales, which is train sets and that, I'm doing it a disservice by calling it just train sets, because it's more than that. This dude is in depth about everything that he does. But we had this conversation the other day when I was down in the studio down in Atlanta, and we were just talking about, like, are you about that life, right? I think we see a lot of I hate to put him on blast, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? We got these basketball players who are out here living these lives, and they're really not about that life, right? Right? We saw this. I grew up in the '80s, right, with hip hop, and you would see all these cats from the suburbs coming into the cities, and they weren't about that life. They stop playing. And it's the same thing when you start to think about content creation or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Are you about that life? Are you actually willing to do what it is that you need to do, right? Are you going to create because this is a passion for you? This is something that you would like do, like, a lot of us do this content creation because we're not, and we're not making money off of it. But we love the topic and we love doing it. So are you about that life? I love that, Eddie. What's up, Chase? What's up, Chase? How you doing? Can't skip the early failures, but you can delete them. I love that, right? You can't. You got to learn. You got, there's a book that I read years ago called Fail Forward by John Maxwell. And it just talks about that idea around the failures that you have in your life, being able to consume them and learn from them, and then move forward, right? So you're failing forward. You are going to continue to fail in certain things, even when putting content creation out there. There are going to be things that you are like, man, I wish I could do this, or man, I don't know if this is going to work. You don't know, right? Who said this? Michael Jordan, I think, best basketball player ever. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. I could wrap the show up right there on that one. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. We get so consumed with everybody else out there putting the content out there, and we are like, well, what about them? Oh, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that because I actually have some content. I actually have some stuff that I want to talk about. I always get ahead of myself because I get excited, and I'm super pumped about this topic. All right. I'm going to go over here with Denise. I want to see Denise's comment. I'm going to put that up there. Good morning. Sometimes procrastination lets others. You are all in my yes. Sometimes procrastination lets others get out in front. Ooh, we think it's already been done, and it hasn't been. And that's the question a lot of people struggle with. What question, man? I said a whole bunch there, Corey, man. You got to help me out, man. What question are you talking about? I said a whole bunch of stuff. Yo, what's going on, Dr. Elo? Man, how are you doing? I don't think you'll know it's wrong idea until you actually try it. If it doesn't excite you, or you're just going with or you're just going through the motions, right? Then it's the wrong idea. Let's go. I love talking about this stuff. I know you do. Doing it just because everyone else is doing it, even though it doesn't fit who you are, your motto. It's not right. It's not right. We try to. This is okay. All right. When COVID happened, the podcasting industry just blew up. It just got crazy, right? And understandably so. People were just like, we're gonna just, we're inside. The listening time and the downloads just went through the roof, and everybody and their mama was starting to podcast, right? And for me, as a person that's been podcasting since 2007, I already loved the medium. I already knew a whole bunch about the medium, and I was already passionate about the medium. So part of me was kind of like, yo, okay, now everybody want to kind of jump on the bandwagon. But then what I realized, of course, was like, rising tide lifts all boats. So it continued to lift the exposure of podcasts, as well. But here's the thing that really just kind of like got my goat a little bit. And this just goes into the idea around trend chasing. If that means something. I don't even know if that's a concept. I create a whole bunch of words like trend chasing. And when you trend chase, you don't have the longevity, to back it up. You don't have the skill set. You don't have the experience to back it up. You are just trend chasing, and you are doing it for the gram. You are doing it for the YouTube, followers or likes or views or whatever it is. And that's cool. If that's your world, if that's what you want to do, 100%, I'm with that. But those of us who really want to create long-lasting, I'm going to sound like a transformative change in our lives and the lives of our audience. You're not about just trend chasing. You're staying put on what it is that you want to talk about and what your audience needs to hear. I said this to say is because when I would hear and see people talk about podcasting and how to start a podcast, and they didn't even have a podcast, and they've never podcasted a day in their life. And it would get my goat, because once again, I am new and true to this, not new and true, I am true to this podcast life. I am about that life as Eddie talks about. And so it just would get to me. It's like, dude, like, yo, do you have a podcast? Like, I know you want to talk about it because it's the trendy thing to talk about, and that's cool. And so I use that example as it relates to your content, as it relates to who you are and what you want to put out there. Here's the thing. It's okay to kind of dab into that. And if it's relevant to what you talk about, if it's relevant to your audience, and you make it, hold on, I want to make sure. And you make it relevant to them in their journey. Okay, I'm giving you a whole bunch of stuff for free today, man, because I usually charge for all of this stuff, man, in my head. Your content, and I say this about podcasting too, your content should take people on a journey. Your content should move people from where they are to where it is where they want to be. Period. And if you're solving a problem, how many people have watched interview shows, or we call, video podcasts, and the person that they're interviewing, all they're doing is just talking about who that person is and what they've done, the people, the places that they worked at, the shows they've been on, all this other stuff, right? That just gets my goat. In another instance, it's because I don't have time, and I don't think a lot of people have time. Your ideas and your content should help problem solve, identify a problem, and then provide a solution. What right now what is the problem that your content is solving? What is the problem that your content is solving? If you are able to define that, if you're able to understand that, pull away from the crowd and really dig down deep, you will understand that you will have content for days. You have content. I got content for years. I literally have content for years. Steve Worthy will never run out of content. All around retail leadership, all around podcasting and live stream. I will never run out of content. You will never hear me say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to create." I will never have that problem. I want you to have that same mindset. I don't want you to ever have that problem where you say, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to create." Ask your audience. All right, okay, I apologize. Let's get to this. Okay, so here's what happens. Here's what happens when you sit on your stuff. I really wanted to get to this because I think this is super important. A lot of this stuff, I wrote this down because this is exactly how I felt. And I don't care. I'm going to put my stuff out there and how I felt, because I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone in this. And some people just, I never felt that way. Okay. Sure, you stop lying. Here we go. You become suspicious of other people's content. You become overly critical of other people's content. I completely messed up the sentence again. Missed opportunities, law of diminishing intent. And I got a couple more. Let's talk about law of diminishing intent, right? I was listening to Gary Vee, and listening for a long time. But one of the things he said that resonated with me was, when you have an idea, and Indian talked about it earlier about if it's in your gut and you have an idea, man, the best time to put that thing out is like right then, as best as you possibly can, in some shape, form, or fashion. The tendency is that we like, ooh, that's dope. Ooh, we write it down, we journal about it, we ask everybody else's opinion, we put it into the group chat. So, what do you guys think about this idea? What do you think I should talk about relative to this? Like, yo, that's where the stealing happens. I'm sorry. I'm joking, but I'm not. That's where the steal happens, when you start putting it all out there to everybody. Oh my gosh, I crack myself up. I love Saturday mornings, if you can't tell. I love Saturday mornings. So the more you sit on it, the less intense the feeling to put it out becomes, right? The law of diminishing intent. We intend to do something. It's almost like when I talk about downloads versus consumption. Downloads, we call them the aspirational acquisition of knowledge, because you have the intent of actually acquiring the knowledge because it's downloaded, right? And that's where people want. But the actual acquisition of that knowledge is actually listening to it. The actual acquisition of that knowledge is actually you putting it out there. You're not intending to put it out there, but you actually put it out there. But over time, if we don't do it, the intent diminishes, right? Oh, you know what? I don't want to do it. Then guess what? Boom. Tommy puts that same kind of idea. You don't even know Tommy, right? Okay. I had an idea for I'm just gonna put it out there. I had an idea for an interview guide for retail leaders. I probably created it probably around maybe 2 years ago. And I have been sitting on it and sitting on it, sitting on it, sitting on it. And then a person that I know, I never talked to them about the guy. I never did because I just put it in the back of my mind. And they came out with a guide. Man, I was so pissed. I was so pissed. And here's the thing: I wasn't pissed. I initially was pissed, at them. But then I realized, here's the answer again. What I realized was it wasn't about anyone else. It was about me. It was about me. I sat on it. So the law of diminishing intent is a real thing. And the more we just sit on stuff, the more it's just going to sit there and collect dust, and other people are going to do what it is that they do, and they're going to put it out there. And it doesn't matter if you feel like they stole it or not. It's just a simple fact that, they were first. In business, we call it first movers advantage, right? First movers advantage. So back in, I'm going to sound like I'm old, back in the day, but in the early 2000s, the idea of first mover advantage was huge when it came to technology. It came to business ideas. Like, first mover advantage was it, right? And here's why it was it. It was because companies couldn't catch up to you for like 3 or 4 years in like the early 2000s. So when you were first to market with something, it took them time to maybe buy your tech and then break it apart and then try to change it up or try to figure out what they needed to do to actually create their own version of it. It took time for them to learn your business and your concept, because websites were of course up, right? But social media wasn't that huge, so people weren't really putting stuff out there. So the window for your first mover advantage was around 3, maybe 5 years, and you could leverage that to like create space and carve out space. So same thing. Nowadays, that first mover advantage is probably a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, right? You come out with a business concept because what happens is that you're promoting that concept and idea, and you're putting it out there on all forms of social media. And so guess what? Everybody's like, oh, they're eating it up. And then guess what? They may come out with something very similar. That first mover advantage, and from a content creation standpoint, is huge. Here's what you got to do with this. You got to flood the market. At least that's what I'm doing. We have this idea. We have this concept with Worthy Retail U, the approachable retail leader. We know other people are going, as we call it in the hip hop community, we know other people are going to bite that. We know other people are going to try to like figure out what that is. We are moving fast and we are moving hard with that idea and with that concept. Posts, concepts, like we got, I'm going to be doing videos, right? We are going to flood the market. So when the approachable retail leader idea comes up, everybody knows it's a Worthy Retail U thing. It's not anybody else, right? When you start to think about first mover advantage, have you done that? Are you flooding the market? Have you created and batch content where you can actually put it out there and create that thought leadership? That's the other thing too, is that it's about ownership. You have to own a space, right? And I know nobody owns a concept or an idea, but you own space in a person's mind, right? With first mover advantage. You own a space. It's top of mind. No one talks about that anymore, right? Because we have so many inputs that happen, we forget. But are you top of mind when it comes to what it is that you're offering, your service, your content, your product, your podcast, your live stream, your leadership? Are you top of mind? And you only do that by being able to carve out space, own a certain space within the bigger space that you're in. Stop trying to be a jack of all trades, because you will master none. All right. You become overly critical of other people's content. You start looking at everybody else's content like, oh my gosh, that's not good. Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? I'm telling you, because I've done it. I'm just letting you know this right now. It happens when you don't put stuff out there. You start to try to bash other people's stuff, and you're like, And you can sit there and say, "Oh no, I would never do that." No, Steve, that's not me. Okay, I'm sorry, that's me. I'm weak. I'm just keeping it real, right? You become suspicious of everybody else's content. Oh, that person stole my stuff. They stole my idea. They stole it. I said that. I've said it. I literally, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying all of this. I have literally said it. I've literally said that. Yo, they stole my stuff, man. Come on, man. What? Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. And I realized over time was like, dude, it's not about anyone else. It was about me. It is about me. Oh gosh. And I hope this is helping some people out there. Please, no trend chasing. That's good. There you go. Trend chasing has such a limited shelf life. 100% agree with you. I do for tacos. Yes, no transformation. Identify a problem and solve it. I'm telling you, if you're not doing that, forget about it. You just, your content just becomes like everybody else's content, and you gotta help people. You gotta serve people. You gotta serve your audience, and the only way to serve them is really knowing what they want and how your content solves that problem. We are doing a leadership series with Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy. I've amassed like 7 amazing retail leaders that are in so many different aspects of the retail world, right? And I've approached them and talked to them all about what I wanted to do. And, I told them, I said, this is not going to be like your typical, like, just interview thing. And they were like, well, tell me more. And I said, I want to know what you and your leadership, throughout your career, and some of them are content creators. And, right now, I said, what specific problem have you identified that you as a leader and that your problem and that your content or your company solves? And then the second part of that, what is that solution, and is that solution still relevant, and how are you iterating, that solution to, move your company and your audience forward? And they were like, each one of them were like, dude. They didn't say dude. I say dude. They were like, dude, I'm all into this interview. Let me know. I'm all in, Steve, because I don't think I've done an interview like this, like that, ever. Everyone just wants to hear my resume and what I've done. I said, no, and then hearing the resume, yeah, you may get a glimpse of what that person does, right, and how they may help serve. But I'm telling you right now, if you are not understanding and identify the problem and then creating the solution with your content, hopefully after today you'll do that. I like the idea of first mover advantage. Being a thought leader, that's what I'm trying to do. Make a place for me. And you're already doing that. You are already doing that, Denise. I mean, seriously, you are already already carving out space. This is not just for you, but I think this is for a lot of other people. Is that I often talk about in leadership when I was leading large teams. One of the first things that I would always talk about is, how do we change before it becomes necessary? And they're like, well, dude, everything's going so great. We like it. We like doing this. We like doing that. Like, that's cool, but that's only going to last for a period of time. How do you change before it becomes necessary, right? How do you able to see around the corner, peek around the corner to see what's happening? The only way that you're able to do that is to take a hard look at what you're currently doing and rip it apart. And I don't mean rip it apart and like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I mean, rip it apart and like, okay, this is great. This could be better. Or my audience, their perspective and what they need from me has changed. So maybe I need to change this up a little bit and kind of not change your value system or the bones of what you are, but maybe changing the output or the deliverable of what it is that you're putting out there, right? And when you do that, you are constantly, one, understanding that there's new content out there from you to pull from for your audience because you are willing to change. You're willing to adapt. You are willing to change before it becomes necessary. A lot of times people don't change until they're forced to, until someone else kind of comes into their spot. I'm just using a lot of leadership pieces. Here's what happens. And I've seen it happen. And I would tell some of these legacy leaders, like, yo, you need to understand and change up how you communicate. You need to change how you lead. You need to think differently in your leadership. You need to think broader. All these different things, and they wouldn't change. I would have that high potential leader that's just boom, 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 coming up the ladder. Boom. Guess what? Leapfrog you. They leapfrogged you. You've been in this position 15 years. This person's been in this position 4 or 5, but they have the requisite skills. They're adaptable. They have self-awareness. They're willing to take feedback. They're willing to take that feedback and actually do something with it. It's the same thing when it comes to content creation. It's the same thing. If you're not willing to take the feedback and do anything different, then guess what? That person is going to come, boom, 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 boom. They're going to leapfrog you, and you're going to be pissed. And you're going to be pissed. You're going to be like, that, I can't believe you all of that stuff. Get these snakes off my plane. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to do that. I love Samuel L. Jackson. She says, it took me some years to realize that I wanted my channel to focus on a non-business creative topic. I'm still letting that decision settle. But dedicated to keeping the creative in mind, 100%. Yo, you late, man. You late to the party, dude. You late to the party. I was expecting you to have a whole bunch of stuff to say with this topic, sir. All right. So we talked about. This is. I got a couple more things of what happens to us when we sit on stuff. You lack growth. You leave room. We just talked about this. You leave room for the competition to come in, and you lose first movers advantage. You just lose it. If you don't put it out there, you can't get mad at somebody else for putting something out there that you should have put out there yourself. You just can't. Because what happens is that there's a couple of things that can happen. I just thought about it. It's 2 things that can happen. They can be consistent enough to keep, create or gaining market share. I'm going to keep using a business perspective, so hopefully you guys tracking with me. When they're leveraging that first mover advantage. So if we go back to that first analogy that I talked about in business years ago, how that first mover advantage, where people had like 4 or 5 years, to leverage what they had until somebody was able to kind of catch up to them. It's the same thing when you start to think about this first mover advantage. Now, if they remain consistent to take market share, right, then that's what happens. But what we do see so often is that people are not consistent enough, and so they may grab a little bit of that market share, but then they lose it because they lack the consistency. And here's why they lack the consistency. And this is going to save a lot of you folks out here when y'all start talking about, I lack the consistency. You lack the consistency because you lack the passion, period. If you are not passionate, and I'm not here's the thing, I'm not talking about taking like a week or 2 off because you want to go on vacation, or you have been like burning the candles at both ends by putting out tons of content and you're like, dude, I need a break. I need a minute. I'm not talking about that. I am not talking about that. Everybody needs those moments in their lives. I'm not talking about that. I am literally talking about when you are like, 1 week here, 1 week there, and you stop, and then someone else puts something out. You're like, yo, like, who is this person? You start going back to like looking at their stuff. You're like, oh, that sucks. And it's like, no, it don't suck. It's just the fact they got first mover advantage. They put that stuff out there and you didn't. And you're like, man, because at the end of the day, it's not about anyone else. It's about you. It is about you. It is literally about you. The only thing that you can control is you and what you put out there and what you don't put out there. You can't control what anybody else puts out there. You can't control when they put it out there, how they put it out there, in what fashion that they put it out there. You can't do any of that. You can only control what it is that you want to put out there. And if you do, then go ahead and do it. If you do, go ahead and do it. Okay, and he says, exactly. I got a good look at today's homemaker. There you go. Working parents with long commutes. Oh my gosh, those commutes are back. I know, right? Those commutes were gone for a while, but those commutes are back right now. Over the last year and a half, I need to create content that reflects their lifestyle, not necessarily the 9 to 5. Exactly, because I think now the needs are changing when they get home. What does their life look like? What does the meal prep look like? What is their home life with spending time with the kids after probably a year and a half or 2 years working from home, and now they're actually going back into the office, right? So the perspective on that 9 to 5 has literally changed up a whole bunch. Nice point, man. I appreciate you. So this is the last. This is not the last point, because I got one last point. This is almost kind of my North Star. Lack of growth. You leave room for the competition. And I want to close with this. These are what do you do now? What to do now? What to do now? It's all about action. I'm going to just read through these real quick. It's all about action. The more you produce, the more confident. Okay, the more confident. I was rocking. I didn't do a good job with some of the spelling of some of these things. My ideas are just flowing, and I forgot to put some of these words in there. Collaborate to get moving. Accountability partner, kick in the as well too, right? It's all about action. It is all about action. I can't. The big mo, right? So I literally took a couple of weeks off from working out. I was traveling and doing some stuff, and I literally took a couple of weeks from working out. And got back home from a trip, and I was sitting there, going to the garage, putting stuff in the garage, and all my equipment and stuff in the garage just kept looking at me. They were like, "Yo, Steve." They trying to get my attention, and I walk like this past them, right? And what I realized was that when I was consistently working out, I had momentum. I had started, and I had was able to just create a whole bunch of momentum. And then, the things of life kind of happened. I went away for a little while and came back, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be fine." And I couldn't get that momentum back, and I lost that momentum. And same thing when it comes to content creation, is that, your content is sitting there. You've already created it. You have it in Notions. You have it in your Apple Notes. You have it on, Apple Notes. You have all of this stuff, and you are and your content's like, yo, Steve, put me up, put me in, coach. And you're like, I want to watch some more YouTube. I really want to watch this Gary V, or I really want to watch this Miles Monroe thing, or I really want to watch this guy talk about dopamines and stuff like that. I'm messing with Cher because she loves this guy and he talks about dopamines, right? And so we sit there and we don't do anything, and the content is just sitting there waiting for us to do it. Momentum is the key. Momentum is. I talk to leaders a lot about this, and Eddie pro sale models will relate to this one, because we start to think about a locomotive train. Locomotive train at its full speed can go through a very, very thick brick wall easily. But if you put a locomotive, you put a brick underneath the locomotive, while it's stuck, it won't move. It just won't move. Even when you start it up, it won't move because it doesn't have any momentum. You can't steer a parked car. How many of you have tried to steer a parked car? Try it. Next time you're in your car, try to steer that joint. You ain't going anywhere because you don't have any momentum. It's the same thing with your content. How are you able to create that momentum? And you do it through action. You do it one piece at a time. You do it one piece of content at a time. It could be a small piece here, and it could be a small piece there. Could be a small post. It could be a quick reel. It could be something. And I am literally preaching to the choir. I'm literally preaching to the choir. All of this stuff that I am talking to you about today, this is all Steve. I've gone through all of this, and this is why I have been longing to put this out, because this has just been something that's been on my heart for a long period of time. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to talk about this one. I want to talk about this. The more you produce, the more confident you become. I used to play. I still play golf. Well, I haven't played in a long time, and I still can play it. But I remember when I first started, I left New York and I was living in Charlotte, and I just started playing golf, and I sucked at it. I was horrible. I was bad. Like I was bad. My cousin and all these guys at church would go off on these golf trips to Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head, and they wouldn't ask me. They liked me as a person, but they wouldn't ask me because they were going to play these really nice courses, and I just sucked. And I was like, okay, you know what? Guess what? All right. So I took a season, and the fortunate thing about where I was working at Caribou Coffee at the time, one of my cafe managers had been playing golf since he was like 5 or 6 years old. Had a scholarship to the University of North Carolina, didn't like it, but still just was a beast at golf. And so I was like, yo, you don't teach me how to play golf or you'll get fired. No, I'm joking. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. But we had a really good friendship. Justin is his name. And he was off every Tuesday. He was a single cat. I was single. And so we, in the context of like, we didn't have families, so we could just go play golf whenever we wanted to, right? So every Tuesday, like, he was like, yo, come on, you ready? And he'd just teach me how to play golf. Golf. Like every Tuesday, I was playing golf at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I just got super better at it. And then the more I got better at it, the more confidence I received. And I remember we were playing it, and my church had a golf tournament. Oh, my church had a golf tournament, and I entered it. It was me, Justin, and his other cat. It was, it was a foursome. So it was 4 of us, and no, it was 2. It was 2-man teams. It was 2-man teams, but they have you in a group of 4 to go off. And I remember the look on everybody's face the first tee when I smashed it. Justin smashed it first because he was a beast. He smashed his, and I smashed mine. The look on everybody's face was like, they were like, what the? How did you get so much? Like all of that. And I just like the confidence that I got just. Everybody ever see Ted Lasso? Rebecca, when she talks about making herself big, and she goes like, right? That's how I felt in that moment. Same thing. The more you produce, the more you go after it, the more confidence you will have, period. Collaborate with others to get moving, and accountability partners. If you don't have somebody that's going to kick you in the you need somebody that's going to help you. I'm sorry, I'm using that button too long. I know I'm going to get some feedback on that one. I'm using that button too much. I love it. It's just, I found it, so I'm using it, and there you go. But if you don't have anybody that could help kick you in the rear, to get you moving, to help motivate you to gain some momentum, we need that, right? We need that. We just do, right? I don't know if I've ever seen a person, like, you can be self-motivated to a degree, right? I'm self-motivated about a lot of stuff, right? But there are just certain parts of my life that I need motivation on, right? I am super motivated about my boys today, Manchester City, who are going to be playing the Champions League. I'm super motivated about them and learning about them and all this other stuff. I don't need help in that aspect of my life and motivation with that. I don't, right? I don't need motivation in talking about retail leadership. I don't need motivation in talking about podcasts and live streaming. What I do need motivation is creating, pieces around my content and my ideas that's going to help move my concept along. If you don't have somebody that's going to help you do that, you need somebody that's going to help you do that. So make sure you find somebody that's in your circle, maybe outside your circle, and do that. All right? That's all I got for today, man. That's a lot. Man, this was like, okay. Here's the other thing about some of this stuff is that, when you're doing it, I'm going to make sure I want to get this. I want to put this up there too. It helps to remind, it helps to remind that you're special sauce. Exactly. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last. Yeah, that workout equipment is always loud. I'm telling you. There you go. Dr. Andrew Hoberman. That's right. He is a dope doc. And the momentum is real. It is real. 100%. This has been therapeutic. I'm gonna be a little selfish. I know I wanted to do this for you guys in the audience, right? But this has literally been therapeutic for me to have this discussion, this conversation today. It has allowed me to get like stuff out that only a handful of people have been privy to, and it has allowed me to be able to kind of share some of this stuff with you. And I truly hope that this resonates with you. I hope that things that we discussed today has provided you some context and provided you with just maybe some tools and some thoughts. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, when you don't put something out there, the remorse and the regret that you have, you can't put you can't deflect it and put it on anybody else. This is yours. You are the content. Period. You are the content. You got to put it out. You have to. You. If you want something, there are steps that you need to take in order to get it. You just can't hope it and wish it into being. Right? You want more. You want more followers. Right? You want more subscribers. You want more business. You want more leads. Right? All these things. If you're not putting the content out there, nobody knows you exist. You can have the best content in the world, but if nobody knows about you, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to leave you. This is going to be the other piece that people are going to be upset. But here's the other thing. Even the people that put stuff out there first from you, some of this stuff ain't great, but it doesn't matter. They were first. Just doesn't. Right? So even if you're being critical of somebody, right, when they put something out and it may not be great, doesn't matter. They put it out there and you didn't. So what you gonna do? You go sit there and just keep criticizing some stuff, or you go put it out there, and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. It is truly, truly, truly about you. I hope you have a great Saturday. I know there's a little bit of a delay, of course. If there are any, and I probably should have said this before I started to close, but if there are any questions or if there's anything that you guys have or thoughts or whatever that you wanted to share, please make sure you go ahead and do that. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to make sure that I have given you value. Now it's time to take a shot. That's an inside joke. I guess about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, no, probably about 2 years, that word, especially like it was really when Clubhouse was thriving. You would go into these rooms and, everybody would be like, they would say, I just want to create value. I want to give value. I want to give value. You have to create value. You have to establish value. And a buddy of mine, we it's like a drinking game, anytime someone said the word value, you take a shot. We really didn't, but it was almost kind of like that. So when I say value, I really mean it, And but that whole thing kind of comes to mind. So that's kind of the internal little joke that I have with myself when I say value. But I truly do hope you have received some what's another word for value? Put it in the comments so that I want to know what's what's another word for value that it's so funny. When you say I wasn't prepared to be dragged by today's show. It is all love, man. It is all love. Oh, I hope no, but then it's no. See, I hope you were fed. Then it sounds like I'm a pastor and I got to hand out a plate. You know what I mean? So I get it. I hope you were fed. I hope you were fed today. Yeah, I feel like I sound like TD Jakes with that one. You know, on that one. I love TD Jakes. I'm just saying. You know, I feel like a pastor when if I say that one. What's another one? Somebody else. Give me another one. I'm dragging out time here today. I'm gonna elongate your Saturday morning here. I hope you do have some really good plans. Down here in Atlanta, it's gonna be hot today. It's almost kind of like, really, dude, you're in Atlanta, but it's gonna be hot today. Then it's gonna start to rain and all this other stuff. All right. I'm done. I am done procrastinating. I'm gonna let you all get to your Saturday mornings. I hope you were fed today. See, I tried to use it. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I hope you gained some insight. That sounds like ChatGPT. Let me see. What's something else that ChatGPT would say? I hope you found today's live stream transformative and informative, so that you can actually do da 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 da. I feel like that's something that ChatGPT would kind of pump out if I asked it to give me a closing or another word for value or something like that. All righty. I have been Steve Worthy. This is The Way. And I appreciate you guys for being here with me on this Saturday morning. Next Saturday, I'm thinking about doing a studio tour. And so I need to clean this place up. So I'm thinking about doing a studio tour. I haven't done one on the live stream, and I got a lot of gear and stuff like that, and I would like to talk about it and maybe help you guys out with some thoughts, or if you have any questions. So I'm thinking about doing a studio tour. But the one thing that I do love about these Saturday live trainings, I'm going to give you this one too. I'm sorry I keep procrastinating. A lot of us need a creative outlet in order to test stuff or to do stuff or to get something off your chest or out there. These Saturday live trainings are this for me. And they didn't start out that way. They started out very much like I was going to be doing a live podcast, but kind of training just a little bit. But what I found myself doing with these trainings is there is a topic or something that is burning inside of me that I don't want to really script it like a podcast. I want to, even though I do script it, I do, create points and all that other stuff. This is not my normal podcast flow. The Saturday trainings are not my normal podcasting flow. And some of us need a creative outlet in order to test stuff, in order to just be able to kind of let your hair down. What's your creative outlet? You don't have to put that in the chat. I didn't add this to be part of the show. It's just literally just came to me because Sharon and I were just talking about it, and we were just talking about creative outlets. What's your creative outlet? What is it? Where do you test stuff? Where do you go? Is that it could be your partner. I mean, it could be that the accountability partner that we spoke about. They could be your creative outlet for you to test stuff with in a very safe environment. And you can just put it out there. It's like, dude, I'm thinking about this. And they can be like, yo, that sucks. Or like, yo, that's awesome. Like, okay, put it out there. Right? So what's your creative outlet? I don't know. Just throwing that out there for you guys. That was free of charge. That one was not in the plan. All right, good people. I appreciate you guys, and I really hope that you have a great Saturday. I'm gonna close this out just like I started this, and I know I'm gonna get I don't know, I'm gonna edit this, so I'm not gonna get a copyright strike, but I'll make sure I edit this. You guys have a great night, and have a great day, great Saturday. Enjoy yourself, and God bless.